At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. Are we asking the wrong questions about construction? Today, we're taking you back to Greenbuild for a conversation that I believe is even more relevant today than when it was originally recorded. If you followed this show for any length of time, you've probably noticed a recurring theme. The biggest innovators in our industry aren't just coming up with better products, they're asking entirely different questions. Instead of asking how we build more houses, they're asking how we redesign the systems that produce housing. Today's panel brings together three companies solving that challenge from completely different perspectives: robotics, advanced materials, and industrialized construction. Although their technologies couldn't be more different, you'll notice something remarkable. They're all thinking remarkably alike. But before we get into any or all of this, we got to give a few words to our supporting members. Brought to you by Greatech, developers of the complete light gauge steel and wood framing software for Revit StruxSoft. Offsite, modular, or prefabricated, StruxSoft Framer turns Revit into a powerful manufacturing tool, automating every step of the DFMA process from design to final delivery. StruxSoft doesn't just work with Revit, it transforms it. Jumpstart your designs at StruxSoftSolutions.com. Halleck Ltd. has a long history of innovation in cold form steel manufacturing and producing innovative precision roll forming technology for customers throughout the United States and the world. Check out their machine buyer's guide for offsite modular construction or fast build construction with light steel for framing. Go to their website, halleckltd.com. When the delivery can't fail, standard transportation isn't enough. Oversized, time-critical, high-risk, specialized transportation supports advanced projects nationwide. From data centers to the delivery and set of homes and offices. With more than 60 years of experience, we've transported over 60,000 projects, served more than 200 U.S. cities, and logged over 70 million miles. When failure isn't an option, choose the leader in specialized transportation. All right, again, thank you to all of our supporting members, all the supporting members you see in the ticker below. We can't do any or all of this without you out there supporting us. Also, you want to be a guest on the Dave Cooper Live show? Pull out your phone, take a picture of that QR code right up in the corner there, and sign up to be a guest. Or if you know somebody that would make a great guest for this show, we would love to have them on. So be sure to take a screenshot of this of your computer, or pull out your phone and take a picture of that QR code. We'd love to have you as a guest on the Dave Cooper Live show. Now, with that said, and I'm going to leave that up there for a moment, before we actually get into all of this, we have some exciting news to share with all of you. So, over the past several years, Dave Cooper Live has traveled across North America and beyond, visiting factories, job sites, research centers, innovation hubs, and some of the industry's leading conferences, all with one mission: to connect the people and technologies building a better built world. So today, I'm incredibly excited to announce our newest collaboration. This December, Dave Cooper Live is coming to Toronto, Canada, as the official host of The Exchange by Dave Cooper Live at the Building Show. The Building Show is Canada's premier event for the built environment, bringing together more than 18,000 industry professionals, over 700 exhibitors, and leaders from the residential, commercial, institutional, and industrial construction sectors. Today, we are launching something brand new, a dedicated destination showcasing the future of construction through live interviews, thought-provoking conversations, a modular plus advanced building technology zone, educational sessions focused on the innovations transforming how we design, manufacture, and build. Whether you're a builder, a developer, an architect, manufacturer, technology company, investor, policymaker, or just industry leader, this is going to be an incredible opportunity to connect with the people shaping what's next. Over the coming weeks, we will be announcing speakers, featured companies, live interviews, special events, and opportunities to participate. If you are interested in becoming a speaker, supporting this initiative as a sponsor, participating in live interviews, or showcasing your company in the exchange, we'd love to hear from you. Simply check out the QR code that I'm about to put on the screen and then DM us or reach out to us. We would love to have you part of the exchange. Here's a little bit about the website. It's all up and ready for you to take a look at and see what it's all about. We are under the show features spot right here. So you can just scroll down. You can find the exchange by Dave Cooper. What I love most about this conference is it's not just residential. It's not just commercial construction. It is everything from residential, commercial, innovation, developers, technology, modular, advanced manufacturing. All of it is at this show. It is 2 halls, so it's like a mini IBS, but the content is going to be amazing. We're going to have a huge stage. We're going to do some amazing things. We'd be super excited to have you support us on this or be a speaker on the stage. So send us a private DM on LinkedIn or however you like, and we can connect from there if you think you bring some value to what we are doing at the exchange. The presence is going to be huge. We got a huge part on the show floor. And looking forward to all of it. All right, so let's get back into what we're here to really talk about, and that is today's guest for the show. This is a show that was pre-recorded at Greenbuild. This is a show that has 3 people that you're going to know very well. They have been on the show before, and they are leading what we do in this industry. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and we'll see you Monday. So today we have a system on advanced building systems, modular production, and next generation materials, and how they're reshaping to rebuild our communities, especially in regions like California, where housing shortages, climate resilience, and regulatory complexity are all intersecting. Today we're joined by 3 leaders in this industry that have been doing amazing things. First off, we have Vikas NT, CEO of Reframe Systems. Vikas, raise your hand. He's introducing AI robotics to the home building with microfactory-driven precision and speed. We also have Sean Peterson on the side over here. Thank you, Sean. CEO of Supersede. Wait till you see this product. Delivering fully recyclable, high-performance structural panels designed for durability, efficiency, and sustainability. And no other than Steve Glenn, founder and CEO of Plant Prefab. They are a certified B Corporation, customized prefabricated building components for high-quality architectural projects, delivering faster and with more predictable outcomes. So each speaker is going to have about 10 minutes to do a quick presentation, and then we're going to jump into the fireside chat type panel discussion, and then we'll get into Q&A. So why don't we start off with Vikas?
Hello everyone, Vikas NT, the CEO and co-founder for Reframe Systems. As a show of hands, how many of you here are architects? Just curious about construction? All right, I think we have a good mix here. So I think across this panel, you'll get good coverage on advances in technology and methodologies for how we can drive more resilient construction out into our existing built environment. So for Reframe Systems, we're a 3-year-old startup. We're in the business of building advanced microfactories that allow us to mass customize climate resilient homes. And the key word here is mass customization, where for most of your architects here and developers, you're very aware that it doesn't matter what you want to build. Site conditions, zoning, and building codes will more or less dictate and constrain what is possible. And we've decided to, instead of trying to fight that wall and try to push standardization, how do we actually embrace the wall that the built environment's all about customizing products to meet site conditions and zoning? How do you invent a new manufacturing system that allows you to get to mass customization at scale? And that's what Reframe has been developing for the last couple of years, applying a lot of principles that my co-founders and I got to really perfect at Amazon Robotics. I was there for about 11 years, really pushing the boundaries on how we could apply software and robotics to get to same-day shipping, but do it in a way where you could order anything you wanted. A red pen, blue pen, teddy bear, didn't matter. We could fulfill any of those orders, which are with high variability, but be able to get them at low cost to customers. And we're applying those principles here at Reframe, where we're actually leveraging some proprietary robotics and software that are packaged into a really small footprint microfactory where we're automating everything that has to do with rough carpentry today. But really pushing the boundaries on what we can do for the more advanced tasks. Like how do you get to a world where you could have an apprentice perform your MEP electrical, your electrical plumbing and your HVAC work? How do you get them to do that by following very simple instructions on iPads, by pre-kitting components? And we've proven out a system where we can produce both ADUs and up to apartment buildings in the same small footprint factory. The video that's playing here is of our microfactory up in Andover, Massachusetts. It's the world's smallest factory for volumetric modular construction. It's about 17,000 square feet. And our goal is to be able to replicate factories of that size across the country. And we're actively looking at scaling capacity out here to service the LA market, especially help with wildfire rebuild. We spoke a little bit about the factory, but let's kind of zoom out and say, like, what is the product or the product typology we're trying to go after? To us, the blueprint here is that of a resilient home. What do we mean by a resilient home? It's a home that is really airtight, a home that has really good practices on its materials and envelope design. So from a building science standpoint, it's a home that's going to provide you the insulation values, but also make sure we're choosing materials in there that are resulting in pretty high indoor air quality. And I think as we've been looking more at the needs of the market here in California and also in other parts of the country, trying to figure out like how do we strike the balance between the material usage in our buildings to also get to high level of wildfire resilience. And so we've been finding really good commonality between all the work we're doing for energy resilience and trying to get to high air tightness, also allowing us to ensure that the structures we build will do much better when it comes to wildfires, because even in a wildfire situation, your homes are actually burning because of embers entering the home through your exposed air vents, through other air gaps. So we're really finding commonality finally in the world. We're really pushing for passive house type of air tightness, where we try to get to 0.6 or lower in our air changes. All the architectural choices we've made and how we think about our facade features and overhangs, to doing the obvious things and trying to get to 1 or 2 hour rated wall assemblies, making sure we have the 5-foot protection around the buffer we need around our structures. I think all of these have just become table stakes, and the advantage we get by pushing a lot of these constraints to factory-built construction is that a lot of the precision, the airtightness sort of become freebies, right? So on-site construction, you can execute the same recipe, right? You could build a 1 hour rated assembly for a wall, not a problem. The challenge ends up becoming how do you get to an airtight assembly that doesn't require remediation, and these become freebies that come out of factory-built construction. The piece that we get to push the boundaries on beyond that, and this is where our software comes in, is what you see on the extreme left for the renders. Like you see 3 very different homes or different styles of homes, but in reality they're all the same floor plan. So we've been building out to, as an example, this is a bungalow product we've been designing for Altadena. It's a 1,500 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath unit. And we ran a couple of user focus groups to get a sense for like what is the design language that people would prefer, and we sort of went through a whole bunch of iterations. The choice, the one on the topmost is the number 1 choice today, and we're sort of building out that as an offering. But the point of me showing this to you, especially for the architects and developers here, is to also realize that factory-built construction with the right technology can provide optionality for customers without having to make it be a custom-built process, right? Like there's a big difference between customization versus custom-built. And you'll find that more and more of us are trying to get into the world of how do you customize reference products and drive efficiencies through that. And the way we get to that, we briefly spoke about the microfactory, but this is something for developers in here. I think we're finally getting into the crux of technology capability, where we're able to deploy factories that cost as little as $1 million in capital expense that can be deployed in less than 100 days into new markets. So we're looking at being able to scale our technology across the country where our factories are no larger than Garden Center at Home Depot. And we eventually want to get to a world where our factories are located no further away from a Home Depot from you. So we're actually able to get all the logistics benefits that come along with it. We're not quite there yet today. I mean, our factory in Massachusetts is pretty close. It's about 20 miles from the city. We'll see where we land as we look at the LA market. We're also in conversations in Salt Lake City and St. Louis. But if we do this right, our goal is to make sure that we eventually get to a world where we actually don't need to do construction the way construction's been done for the last 100 years or more. We get into a world where it's all about manufacturing and site integration. And how do we get to that world by unlocking the right type of product at the right price point and the right speed. So the other thing we've been very focused on is trying to figure out, because of the capability we have in our manufacturing, where we can produce a high diversity of products simultaneously, how do we use that to also unlock the right housing topology, right? So today, a lot of industrialization techniques are really helpful if you're a large-scale multifamily developer or a hotel developer where you get, right, a 100-unit or 200-unit project with high repetition. It works really well there, or it works really well if you're building a large-scale single-family community. The challenge has been, and how do you get to this world where you can actually add more homes into existing neighborhoods and get really efficient at scattered site development? So developers here are working with scattered sites. You have almost no leverage because none of your GCs or subcontractors get the scale efficiencies in being able to make sure your projects can pencil, right? So you're looking at costs that range from $450 all the way to $900 a square foot from what we're hearing for some of the reconstruction projects here. But if you just were to move 30 miles out of the city and go look at a production builder, they're able to build for $150 a square foot, right? So our goal is, how do you apply technology here to enable infill developers to get the same scale efficiencies that you get in the production market? We're not quite at those price points yet today, but we believe that as we continue making progress in our supply chain and the technology stack, we can empower all small scale developers to be able to build in infill markets, build the type of housing that people want at price points that actually make it highly tenable, highly attainable. And I think that's the future we're looking to unlock. Just to inspire you with some of the product visuals, and you guys can find all of this on our website. There's some shots of some of the technology we're building with our robotics that actually enable us to get to high level of customization on panels, which are our building block, and then we combine these panels to become any type of volumetric module that's needed. And some of the types of homes we can build, a lot of times we get pushback to say, hey, like modular means boxy. You really can't meet local site context. We would love to disprove that. This is a 12-unit community we're starting to build in Devens, Massachusetts. We just got our permits a few weeks ago. The product topology we've been customizing for Southern California there. So you're able to really entertain a whole bunch of different types of design aesthetics as long as you sort of, and Steve will cover this in his talk, where I think there's still constraints that come with factory-built construction, but they're not constraints that prevent you from building products that are highly attainable and attractive. This is a 3-unit structure we were just recently set about 3 weeks ago in Massachusetts. To give you a sense of the speed benefits you get with offsite construction, we've gone from foundation and we'll be handing keys over to the family by Thanksgiving in roughly 120 days. And this is a 3-unit, 3-bedroom apartment building. It's built to IBC code, right? So we pretty much are paying all the penalties that come with having to go to IBC for just 3 units, but you get the speed efficiencies and when you start embracing offsite construction as an approach. So, it makes neighbors really happy, especially in infill markets where really not disrupting their life for too long. Obviously makes the developer happy in terms of their time to IRR. And for the homeowners who are going to be living in there, I mean, we made a promise to get them in there for their Thanksgiving meal, and we're pretty close to keeping that. For a lot of folks who are really looking at the climate resilience aspect, this was our first ADU that we built about 1.5 years ago. We designed it to be net zero, but because of the airtightness efficiencies we got in the factory, we ended up actually becoming energy positive. So this home was designed to get to HERS 0 with solar, ended up having a HERS score of -25. Surprised all of us, but there's a future here where we get to be efficient in the build process, be efficient in how we actually deliver homes to the market, but also have homes that are actually extremely efficient to operate for homeowners. So I hope that as you listen to all of us here today, you sort of adjust your perspectives on how offsite construction, be it panelized or volumetric modular, can really help you build faster, more cost effectively, but also be very responsible to the environment. And we hope that you give us a shot at this. So to learn more, you can find more information on our website, reframe.systems, or you can come find me. I'll be around here. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to move on. We got a lot of panels to cover today. So Sean Pedersen, Supersede, why don't you come up and show us what you have going on? Thank you.
I'm Sean Peterson, CEO and co-founder of Supersede. And what we do is really simple. We make better building material that are better for the environment. We do it at a reasonable price. Our initial product that we're launching with is a replacement for plywood and OSB. And it's waterproof because it's made out of 100% recyclable materials. So we start with the base recycled polypropylene, which is taken from the factories and the local environments that we serve in. We ingest that, we reformulate that, and about 120 feet later, you're left with a 4-foot wide board that can be cut to any custom length. Value proposition, it's waterproof, it's made from recycled materials. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. So our goal at Supersede is to have the biggest impact. I think that we look in the world of construction, and there's a lot of ways to move a lot of waste material if you can turn around what we're doing with recycled plastics, which is giving it a forever home, right? That is what's the issue. That's why it's leaching into our oceans, into our waterways. And there's a lot of really great carbon embodiment stories happening. You know, there are 70 plus different vendors and startups working on changing the carbon footprint for concrete, for instance. And, you know, wood, there's like 3 or 4. And I think the main difference for that is that someone needed to make a structural solution. And that's where we come in. So where we entered and why we have, you know, an opportunity is first just the general pricing volatility. That's only getting worse with the current tariff situation. Additionally, because we're, you know, particularly sourcing more and more domestic sources of lumber, we're chopping down younger and younger trees, and generally the quality of those products are going down, and need to make up for it with different binders, different toxins that end up leaching into our ecosystem. And at the end of the day, we're still producing material that's not really up to par. You know, we're looking to displace the fact that there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish in 10 years, and that we're chopping down forests that we're saying we're sequestering carbon by doing so, but at the end of the day, if you just let that old growth forest grow, you're going to continue to sequester carbon on their own. So there are better ways to do it. And so plastics, particularly recycled plastics, don't have a great name. So that's where we started. We started with the material science. How do we reformulate? How do we ingest a process that we can do this at the scale right now to the tunes of about 25 million pounds a year? How do we do that at a scale that's replicable so that we can achieve the baseline for what would be ICC certification? How do we get to a structural and validated base component? From there, how do we do it at scale? And that's where we put a great deal of system engineering and machine design into the process of creating this semi-hollow structure that you see here on the far left. And what that achieves is a strength to weight ratio that gives us the same weight as plywood or OSB, except it's going to be stiffer, it's going to be stronger, and it's going to be 100% waterproof. And that's what we've achieved, and we're incredibly proud of that. Today you can get in any color you want as long as it's black, but we're also able to co-extrude, so we will be doing different colors, different surface treatments, etc. But just generally we're seeing performance across the board is stronger. And where we launched, because we're going through ICC accreditation, so we're the first fully recycled sheeting material to get approved by ICC against their board, but we've got about another 6 to 8 months of testing before we can really be on homes, which is why we're here at Greenbuild to talk to some folks that are looking to test. But we're testing it in a market that basically beats the heck out of the product. And so we launched a year ago in the pontoon and boat industry. We're the floor of a structure of a boat that goes 50 miles an hour, jumps over waves, and has 300 horsepower motors on the back. You're not going to get a better use case. In addition to that, we work with RVs. We just started doing some of our first DoD projects, and what we're super proud of is the fact that we've outpaced wood. We've outpaced every other incumbent product that's on the market in terms of performance, price, and longevity. We distribute today through UFP, one of the largest distributors in the country. Really happy about that. And so the reason we're able to do this is simply because of the fact that, you know, same as the cost is the idea here that we're setting up micro factories. So we can stand these up again in a year. We're doing it about 1/100th of the cost of a typical lumber yard. But our goal is to place these near the point of interest. So we're reducing carbon impact, we're cleaning up local environments, we're hiring local talent, and we're doing this in a fully vertically fashion. So we're eliminating the pricing volatility that you see in the marketplace today. So long story short, we can do this really efficiently and really fast. We have our first plant in Phoenix today. Our second plant is going up in Indiana as we speak. And, you know, I think the one thing that we're really most compelled about in this room particularly is, you know, why we're crazy enough to do this. The first was the fact that we can find massive efficiencies by vertically integrating and building these micro facilities. Two, we're looking at just an old product, right? Like I said before, there's about 70 or 80 companies working on concrete. There's only a handful of folks working on a different form of structural plywood. And what we're finding is that the criterion are just old. We're looking at performance envelopes that only stretch out 10 years. We're able to extrapolate ours out to 50 years. And what's the biggest issue that we're seeing is that no one's accounting for moisture. So apples to apples, when Supersede comes out of the factory versus a piece of plywood or a piece of OSB, we're already going to be stronger. But if that wood or OSB gets wet, we've tested this in every single facet, you're losing 20, 30% of its performance structurally. And I think that's something that's a bit of a dirty little secret or something that everyone knows that isn't being addressed. And that's where we think there needs to be genuine change. So, what we're trying to change folks' idea on here is that we can stand these plants up quickly. We can have a very strong impact with what we do. There's a different way of looking at things, and I think it really starts in the criterion. We've got an awesome team, material scientists, folks that have been in the industry for decades. And not to belabor the point, but what we just want to address here is that there's a win-win that can happen. And I think that's what Supersede is bringing to the table. We can have a significant impact on the environment. It's not going to cost you any different than what standard performance plywood OSB is. And at the end of the day, you're going to build a longer lasting structure. So I think that's it for my time. I'm getting the hook. Thank you all.
All right, let's bring up our next guest, Steve Glenn from Plant Prefab. Steve?
We're a little unique in the prefab world. Most prefab companies offer products. You heard about Reframe, for example. There are the vast majority of prefab companies, including the big three that do mobile homes, Clayton and Cavco and Skyline Champion, they offer products. And it's awesome when you have a manufacturing process to create products, because you can do it super efficiently. But we're targeting a different problem, and I should say as context, particularly given where we are, Greenbuild. We're a Benefit Corp, we're B Corp certified, we're pretty well known for the work we do in sustainability. It's kind of core DNA for us. We've had over 30 homes certified LEED Platinum, which is far more than any other factory that we're aware of. We have 13 more multifamily affordable housing project that should be certified LEED Gold that's coming online in Santa Monica. We installed earlier this year. So the big problem we're focused on, particularly given our background in sustainability and a mission-driven focus, how do we make infill development more efficient? And what are the challenges there? Well, first of all, let me say this. For those of us who care about climate change, and I assume all of you do, that's why you're here, there's one positive trend, a lot of negative trends, but one positive trend. The world's becoming more urbanized. The positive trend, that's the positive trend. The challenge is building in cities, first of all, it's the most expensive place to build. Land and labor is most expensive and most scarce, labor is most scarce. But there's another problem. When you look at cities, and I live in Santa Monica, so those of us who live here in Los Angeles, there are just hundreds of different lot variations, lot sizes, and dozens of different zoning and zoning overlays. So if you want to build in a city, and this applies regardless of whether you're doing a single family home or multifamily, you've got to be able to customize. That problem will never go away because of lots are how they are. And so what we're trying to solve is how to make that process more efficient. Because again, for those of us who are excited about urbanization, it means people are closer to job, transport, services, so that's a good thing for climate change, reduces ecological footprint. How do we make the custom project, working with architects, many of you raised your hand, how do we help you? Because traditionally, there's been this interesting discontinuity. You're working in areas where the costs and the challenges are greatest, so you want better efficiency, but the industry in this country, it's different actually in other countries, but in this country has served the lower cost market more, mobile homes biggest market. So our solution is to create a set of building tools that enables us to do your custom projects more efficiently. We actually built, and you'll see in a second, the only factory in the US purpose-built to do both panels and modules at scale. Most companies who work in prefab do one or the other. Reframe actually does both, although you don't sell panels that I'm aware of. You come as full volume. We do both. And we do both because they both have certain advantages and certain challenges. With this system, and frankly, certainly with what Reframe is doing, you didn't hear some of the advantages enough, in my opinion. You can save a massive amount of time. I mean, you heard about their project in Boston, 4 months. That's incredible. You can often reduce costs, and not always. It depends on what you're doing where, but you create greater reliability and certainty. We had a developer come to us recently who's a GC and who said, look, based on what I'm doing where I'm not sure I'm going to save money with you. I'm going to get to that in a second, but he said, I know I'm going to save time and I care about that, but I also know it's going to be more reliable and I don't trust my schedules anymore. I don't trust my budgets because I get hit with change orders and schedule delays. Sometimes not the sub's faults, weather delays. I need greater reliability. That's something we can deliver in this industry. Let me talk about cost for 1 second. We unfairly often get evaluated on price per square foot basis. Here's why that's unfair. It's actually about project cost. So if we save you, if doing a project in 4 months, it should take 12. I mean, our average project's 3 months in the factory. If we massively compress your schedule, you're going to save money, whether it's carrying costs on your equity or your construction loan or general conditions for your GC, you're going to save money. And the industry needs to do a better job to help people understand that, like what's the savings on a project cost basis. We're very involved in rebuild projects. Frankly, before January, our biggest asset class in terms of our backlog and opportunity pipeline was affordable housing. We finished our first multifamily earlier this year. We've got a big project in Koreatown next year. But then the fires happened. And what's unique about this, 16,000 structures lost. The vast majority were not created from production home building. They're unique lots. And oh, by the way, to qualify for expedited permitting and to not have to go to specialty agency review like coastal if you happen to be in that zone, which many in Palisades and Malibu are, you've got to build within 100%, 10% of your lot. So sometimes products may work, but oftentimes not. You've got to be able to customize. So the other thing is that the vast majority of the people who lost their homes frankly didn't build those homes and never planned to build those homes. And so they are dealing with the stress of being displaced, families in different neighborhoods and dealing with all those challenges and having to do a new home that they never planned to do. So how do we make that process faster, more efficient, more reliable, greater, less stressful for them? We have the only automated high volume factory west of the Mississippi that does single family homes. There's only actually one other high capacity automated plant in California. It's in Northern California. They only do multifamily. We focus on architecture. We can do about 1,000, 2,000 homes a year. So we're already very involved. We suspect we'll be increasingly more involved. We're working with HOAs. We're working with nonprofits to try to build as efficiently as we can for homeowners who want to get back to their homes and neighborhoods. So we're about an hour and change north of here. We're in Arvin, California. It's a 270,000 square foot facility. It was about $40 million to build this. It was built for us, solar powered. We are going to go through generally how our tours do, but we're going to start with what we do for every project. So we create a manufacturing model that fully coordinates your structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, your sprinklers. We do that for 3 reasons. Number one, we're clarifying any RFIs. So I'm going to get a little technical for you non-architects or developers, but we want to clarify RFIs before we get into construction, find out any coordination issues. 2, we get absolutely precise BOMs, bill of materials. We know absolutely what to rate, which massive construction waste is a huge problem in the industry. You heard a little bit about that earlier, so we reduce that. But third, we get the machine code that tells our equipment what to do. So we're going to start with where we cut every piece of wood. Every stud joist is cut here. And and I should have pointed out, but there's a monitor there that shows the piece of a specific piece of wood going through right now. It's from that manufacturing model, and it can do very complex cuts. All routing is done by this machine, so no plumber or electrician is measuring anything. It's all done here. Every piece of wood is labeled, so we know where it goes, we know what projects. And oh, by the way, we're compiling all of the projects we're doing in any given day and week together to optimize cut lengths and minimize waste. We have 3 automated panel lines. This is for wall panels. So you just saw a piece of equipment that nails every stud and joist. It knows exactly where to go. This piece of equipment automatically nails the sheathing, the weatherproofing. It cuts out openings for windows and doors. It trims off any excess. This next piece of equipment then blows in insulation. Oh, by the way, it's 100% recycled. It's cellulose. It's used newsprint. Our drywall is 100% recycled drywall. We're very careful about the materials that we use. We then have panel bays where for internal and external panels. This is a bay for external panels, so we're putting in the windows, weatherproofing, drywall, so we can ship you your full weather-tight building envelope. So I should have clarified earlier, but we do all panel projects, we do all mod projects, but particularly for single family, it's often a hybrid of both. We have 3 mod lines with 7 stations each, module line, and here's where we put in finish the drywall, the millwork, the tiles, the appliances. All testing is done at the factory. We literally deliver the mods with certificates signed by inspectors. It's a state inspection process, so no local municipality can do any inspections with our materials. It's actually an advantage of offsite construction. We then prepare the components for shipping. So our customer is the GC. We're like a master sub to the GC. We're trying to make them more efficient. We want one group responsible for all of the construction work. And so we're preparing, this is a project in West Hollywood. It's actually done. If you go to our website, you can see pictures. We work with Loha on this project. Beautiful multifamily project. First floor panels, second and third floor modules. We've done pretty careful analysis on the carbon footprint of our homes versus kind of an average home. We're doing a bunch of things to try to reduce that. And you'll see a Toby Long project in Palo Alto, different styles, project in Martis Camp, some high-end homes, some multifamily, some affordable housing. We do great tile work. These are some of the rebuild projects. This is by Scott Prentice in the Palisades. But again, hopefully different sense of different styles and finishes. We have that flexibility. That's our focus. These are some projects by Bespoke Design, also in the Palisades. These are all fire rebuild projects. And then I think last is Toby Long. We have projects with him too. Anyway, happy to answer any questions, and please come visit us. Thank you.
Beautiful houses, huh? All right, so we're going to do a quick Q&A. I'm going to start off with one quick question. We don't have a whole lot of time, and then I want to get some audience questions if you have it. So, and we'll start off over with Sean. But we want to know, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about modular construction or advanced materials that you're currently bumping into the market, right? Part of what we do is always have to educate. What would be the biggest misconception? Sean, let's start with you.
For us, since we're on the material side, the biggest misconception is what I highlighted at the end, which is that the status quo is good enough because that's what's out there. Also, we're dealing, what we do, it's plywood and OSB. I mean, that's the most commodity, bottom of the market building material that you're going to get. And often folks are focused on price that they don't think there's another option. But the truth is, one, there is an option, and two, the consumer does care. And so we spend a lot of time educating our consumer, which then sells through to our buyers, which are the folks actually building and implementing it. And I think having that message from where we are to what our impact can be resonates hugely in the market. And so that's the biggest misconception. And the last one is, do I have to change a bunch of stuff? And the answer is no. We actually save steps in the process. You know, you mentioned rain screening is one of the things that you do automated. You know, we can pull that out of most processes. We just are an exact drop in replacement. And I think for us, that's the biggest misconception, is just you need to look in the right places.
All right, thank you for that. Vikas?
Yeah, I think for us, it's very often modular construction gets confused with manufactured housing. So there's, for better or worse, I mean, we've had a lot of challenges before HUD codes were updated, where you have trailer homes and mobile homes built in the 50s through 70s, have had a lot of issues with safety. So usually when we're approached for customers who don't have exposure to understand the difference between the two, it's very easy to misconstrue modular construction, which is built to site codes. Anywhere you can do site build construction, modular as a viable candidate from a code perspective. There's also a misunderstanding that modular homes are not real estate, like they actually are similar to manufactured housing, which is not true. So you actually can get traditional mortgages, your home appreciates the same way. And the reality we're finding more and more is that modular homes are actually, because we're designing these homes to survive pretty stringent loads for crane lifting, for being transported on highway speeds, the homes actually end up becoming a lot stronger than site-built homes. And we've had several studies after hurricane disasters where FEMA goes and looks at homes that are left standing, and more often now they end up being homes that were modular. So all in all, we believe we're building a more superior product and also being a lot more conscientious about the materials and the emissions involved with it. And more often we just have to educate customers about the difference between manufactured housing and modular.
I'll just kind of add to it. In California, a modular home legally is the same as a site-built home. There's no disclosure requirements. As you heard, you can't discriminate with respect to zoning. That includes HOAs, by the way. Can't discriminate with respect to financing or insurance, although some of us, I'm not sure how you were, but many of the factories require a much bigger upfront payment than you would do with a GC, because we order all the materials up front, because we build very quickly. In a traditional process, you're going to be there for a year or two ordering materials along the way. That's not how we work. Last thing I'll say is that, again, expanding on this point, it's not yes, some of us, I think, are pretty responsible about how we design and build, but frankly, the state in California makes you build to a higher building code. So if you look at what the state says and compare it to local building codes, generally the tolerances are higher, they require you to build bigger assemblies, and that's because the modules are subjected to wind shear and vibration. I've heard from the structural engineers, it's equivalent to 8.0 earthquakes. So you do get a better product, not just because some of us, I think, are pretty responsible, but because the state mandates it.
Gentlemen, thank you. How about a big round of applause? What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.